I'm doing this Korean supper thing, Korean, supper club. It's more of a pop-up dinner situation where, I come up with a theme, invite some people, and go through it. Like, here is a way that you could interact with the chef and kind of get their thought process versus just ordering from the menu, right?
Hello! Welcome to The Corner Table, a podcast about food and drink in Madison, Wisconsin, produced by the Capital Times. That was Hahri Shin. Hahri is a newcomer to Madison who has a rich and compelling history with food. He was born into a Philadelphia restaurant family, and he rediscovered his Korean-American food roots while living in Koreatown in Los Angeles. Here in Madison, he's been hosting an informal Korean supper club out of his home, and he's also been grappling with some pretty serious health issues that have led to restrictions on what he can eat. I am your host, Cap Times food writer Lindsay Christians. I'm really excited for more people to know about Hahri. This man makes some of the best Korean fried chicken I have ever had, and he has this deep-seated passion for food that I found inspiring. Give a listen. Welcome, Hahri.
Hi,
I
nice
am
to be here.
so glad that you're here today.
Thank you, thank you.
So first of all, tell people a little bit about you.
Yeah, my name's Hahri Shin. I'm Korean American. I was born in Philadelphia. Recently moved to Madison from Los Angeles last year in August. Work brought me to Madison, work in healthcare technology, but I would say my passion is in food. And that's kind of what brought me here today, is just trying to see what I can do to help, Madison's food scene and where I could contribute or, play a part in.
The way that I discovered you or found out about you was through something called PDA that happened in early May. It was the Public Display of Asianness.
Yeah.
And it was Joanna and Joyce over at Saints, Madison. I think Francesca Hong from Morris Ramen was part of it. Obviously, Tori Miller was part of it from La Toile. He's got Korean American roots as well. And, Johnny Hunter from Underground.
Yeah, and Alice Choi from
Alice
Mom.
Choi, Hip Foodie Mom,
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah.
And her, presence is definitely rising as well.
Yeah.
But I thought, I know all of these people, and I don't know this guy.
Yeah.
And so I started to go down the rabbit hole of your Instagram feeds and thought, my gosh, this guy's got a picture of himself with Michael Solomonov from Zahab. He must know a thing or two.
Mike's a good friend. So it's this like mysterious persona. Like, who's this Hahri Shin? What is this guy that's doing Korean fried chicken at a fundraiser? Out of nowhere. And I was approached by Francesca and Alice because with Joe and her fundraiser for liver cancer awareness, they were looking to do an event, and they're looking for people to help contribute. And I wasn't really well known in the Madison food scene, but I think, some people started to follow me through Instagram and noticed that I have a passion for cooking or ability to cook, or, specifically I realized when I moved to Madison, there was kind of a lack of Korean food. So a lot of it was me cooking the things that I craved that I missed from my time in LA. So through that, people asked me, are you serious about trying to do this a little bit more, professionally? I'm like, I guess I'll give it a shot. So I offered to make Korean fried chicken, which is a twice fried Korean chicken with a little bit of soy and gochujang, which is a little bit of spice. So it was a hit. I apparently didn't make enough because it sold out within an hour. And it was really good. So people are like coming up to me. It's like I didn't have business cards. I didn't have a little sign. It's like, who's this guy in an apron just serving chicken? And I really didn't have a good answer because I really don't know where I'm at right now in the sense of what I want to accomplish with the food that I make. I think a passion of mine was bone broth, Korean bone broth, which is called solongtang. And it's a process. They don't really do it here because it takes a lot of time to boil down the bones and
kind
get
of like
good.
ramen.
Yeah. So it's definitely something that I'm trying to figure out. And I feel like a concept of doing like a stand at UW campus during the winter with like a to-go cup of nice broth.
Sounds so good.
Yeah, that's kind of where my head was. But you can't go wrong with fried chicken either. So there's little different things where. There's the traditional Korean food that I'm passionate about, but also there's other things that, like fried chicken that is also amazing to kind of highlight.
So you work in healthcare tech. How did you get into food? Tell me a little bit about that history.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm a product of the restaurant industry. My father is a chef, so I grew up in the restaurant industry. Started off with working at delis, and then with my dad's restaurant, it's kind of funny, we owned a Japanese restaurant, being Korean American on the East Coast. It was like they didn't know the difference, as well as in the early 90s. Japanese food was on the rise. Everyone's like, oh, raw fish, sushi, this is so cool. And, Korean food wasn't really well known at that point, only in like small areas of the Korean community. So in Philadelphia, we were one of the first, I guess, Japanese restaurants that kind of popped up on the scene, and very successful doing that. And, as a kid, I'd run around, technically not supposed to be, but like running around in the back in the kitchen. And once I was able to hold something, I could start peeling. It's that typical, immigrant growing up in the restaurant, seeing, it's wherever you can help, right? And it was a very interesting experience where all these things that just kind of just got, built into me, and like growing up. And, my parents never wanted me to get into the restaurant industry. That's their thing. Their hard work would be for me to go to college, and, that's why my day job is in tech. But, you grow up in it, and it's just there, right? It's like, it's wanting to participate in some way to honor that, struggle that your parents went through. Like, it's a part of your life. So how do you continue that part, or, do you just go away from it completely? So
LA has a pretty amazing Koreatown. Tell me a little bit about your time in LA.
Yeah, I spent about 4 years in LA. Originally, I lived the first year in the West Side, near Venice, and then I kept finding myself making the drive to Koreatown, which is, a pretty far drive from West LA, and especially when you're stuck in traffic. But every night I would kind of make my way there to experience Koreatown. It's like you're in LA, you're in, the States, but it almost feels like you are in Korea, a little pocket of Korea. And then you go to all these different types of restaurants, and it's not just the bibimbap or just the Korean barbecue. There's so many different little noodle shops or specialty shops that do these things that, I didn't even know of growing up. And, they're also on the forefront of making Korean American cuisine, so, usually there's not that much cheese in Asian food or any at all. But like now that I'm seeing in LA, a lot of the bar foods are incorporating mozzarella cheese, or some of the classics like galbi, which is a short rib that's braised. They're throwing mozzarella cheese and torching it, and it's just amazing to see the kind of influence of LA Korean American cuisine. And it's kind of where I'm also looking at things that I can, hear that's specific to Madison and Wisconsin. Kimchi is very popular. You got brats and sauerkraut. And kimchi is pretty much a spicy sauerkraut, and you can make something similar to that, like, that is a mix of Wisconsin and Korea. And recently I did a kimchi mac and cheese with brats, and those are the things that I'm kind of thinking of. How do I, bring Korean American food here in Wisconsin versus what it's experiencing in LA? So what are the things that I can, take from my local surroundings with some Korean food, and try something new? So that's kind of where I'm looking towards.
I saw that you've got a supper club that you do sometimes, like a dinner club sort of thing, just a casual thing.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what you've made for some of those events.
Right. So there is. It's my Korean supper club that I started off, something where I don't feel like I could open like a straight restaurant right now, but something I can control is having people over, 4 seats on my little kitchen in, East Madison, and just show them personally what I can make in terms of Korean food, what, traditional Korean food is. I think I did it the first time I did the Korean supper club. I did all the major hits. Like I did a kimchi jjigae. I did the Korean fried chicken. I've done like the grilled pork ribs. So it was just a seafood pajeon pancake, which is haemul pajeon, and it's Korean pancake. And those are the kind of traditional things you see on typical Korean menus at Korean restaurants, but I kind of wanted to make it my own twist. And it was something where trying to see, I'm trying to get to know who's who in Madison's food scene, and kind of just threw out the invite through people that I might have known on social media. And it's always interesting meeting people from the internet, and just like it's like you're inviting someone to your home and hoping that everything goes well, especially if you're cooking them a meal. So it's something where I would like to try to get it regularly, where I could do this kind of supper club where I'm hosting a meal that's specific around a dish or part of Korean cuisine or something else as well. I mean, it's not just Korean food I cook. I like to do Italian and then Middle Eastern, Mediterranean. But right now, currently, my passion is in Korean food. So, and I think one of the big things was the bone broth that I've been working on. And there's a lot of opportunity here in Madison with those things that just aren't here yet. So.
I noticed on your Instagram that you've been pretty public about your need for a kidney, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about that, how that's affected your food life.
Oh man, it's been a big change. It kind of came out of left field. I didn't know, I had serious health issues. I turned 30 a couple years ago, and I kind of lost vision in my left eye, and I thought it was just through like looking at the computer screen for so long. So I went to the doctors. They checked it out, and they noticed that it was diabetes in the eye. So I went to the ER, and originally the main issue was high blood pressure. I was in a hypertensive crisis, and the diabetes. So I was admitted. Things were looking better. And a couple of my results were like, hey, you got to watch out for this, that, and the kidneys weren't at a point where they were serious. But within a month of my follow-ups, I come back and it shot up drastically within a month, which it shouldn't have. And they were very confused as to what was happening. So they did a biopsy, and it kind of showed 7 different possible diagnoses as to what was wrong with my kidney. It wasn't just something that might have been like through diabetes or high blood pressure. It was like IgA nephropathy, glomerulitis, all these other 25 character things that
scary names.
Yeah, which the thought was when I was transitioning from LA to Madison that I had about like 5 years before I had to worry about a kidney transplant or dialysis, starting dialysis. Once I got to UW for my doctors and got some checkups, they realized within the time that I moved from LA to Madison, I drastically got worse, and I actually started feeling symptoms. So everything like going through this process was just numbers on a lab report. But when I started feeling symptoms, we did an emergency procedure to put a catheter in my chest, and I started dialysis in September when I moved, a month after moving to Madison. It's been interesting in that, the past year, just dealing with the ups and downs and dialysis 3 times a week. And like I said, with the food, originally finding out I was diabetic, there was things that you would watch out for, sugars and monitoring carbs. But now that with the renal diet in play with the kidney failure, there's other things that I have to watch out for. So specifically when you're a dialysis patient or have kidney failure, you have to watch out for things that would build up in your body. So like toxins. So it's very bad to have high sodium, high potassium, as well as phosphorus in your diet. And I don't know if you know this, but there's a lot of things that have sodium, phosphorus, and potassium in it. So you kind of restrict yourself to a very small menu of what you can and can't eat. So for sodium, anything salty, because that makes you retain water, and that's the problem is retaining fluid, as someone that doesn't have a kidney that's working as bad. Potassium can cause, heart failure and different things if it builds up too much. And a lot of fruits are high in potassium. Avocados, are high in potassium. And phosphorus, which kind of sucks, is moving to Wisconsin. A lot of cheeses has phosphorus in it. Dairy, creams are high in phosphorus. So it was quite the learning experience for someone that's passionate in food, loving to cook, loving to dine out. I don't see it as a way to hinder it. It just makes it a little bit more challenging in how do I prepare food for myself to eat and make it exciting. I can't use salt, so use some other herbs and spices. I like using za'atar. That's a very,
sumac, sesame, and thyme.
Yeah.
There's salt in it, but
yeah. So I mean,
tiny
it's just,
bit.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like monitoring that kind of intake. Finding the extra things to kick it up a little bit, and it's It's been challenging, but it's something I enjoyed, the challenge of food. Even though it's no longer easy to go out and just eat whatever I want, being a little bit more cautious of that, but I enjoy cooking others, and it means I still can cook what I like to eat, and it's just I'm more strong-willed in cheating or trying to take sneak bites here and there, but it's been fine.
So you can cook for other people.
Yeah, I think whereas I used to have a hobby of always dining out, fine dining, or just like eating out, I think now I'm appreciating cooking for others. That's why I've been doing this supper club, or this kind of idea of bringing Korean food to Madison in a way that, it's not available currently.
Are there things that you can't really have anymore that you miss?
I used to, like my bone broth, I can't have a lot of it because even though it's bone broth, it's just boiling bones and getting the nutrients out of it. It's calcium and all those things that put a play, but you also add salt to flavor it. So, it's very bland without salt, and, the Korean style bone broth is something. And as well as being a broth or soup, it's that extra intake of liquids that I have to be careful of. And, I guess I'm saving a lot of money by not eating avocado toasts, so I could buy a house now that I've cut out avocados. I think that was the thing. As a millennial, right, I shed that title now that I could buy a house, right? So that's been one of the benefits of kidney disease, that, avocados are gone. But, there's a lot of things that you just crave, but it's not as important. I think the time that I'm spending here without cheating is much more time well spent than indulging in things that will take its toll on me and cause that pain. So
if people want to follow you, your food, this journey that you're going on with the kidney, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm mostly interactive in social media on Instagram and Facebook. My main personal account will have most of the kidney stuff is at HPSHIN, at HP Shin on Instagram. More of the food-centric items would be, or the things that I cook or enjoy cooking or checking out would be at Hahri's Kitchen, HAHRI, S Kitchen, Hahri's Kitchen, hashtag Hahri Can Cook or Hahri Eats. So I'm slowly building up the Hahri Eats Madison, or Madtown, kind of hashtag. But if you look at Hahri Eats, those are kind of the places I like to dine out. And then, Hahri Can Cook is specific to things that I enjoy cooking.
I really hope to make it to one of those Korean supper clubs.
Yeah, definitely got to get a little bit more of a rotation out and see how I want to plan it out in terms of invitations and kind of different foods to make.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming in. Yeah. I really appreciate it. Folks, find him on Instagram. It's really amazing.
Yep. Thank you for having me.
This has been The Corner Table, a podcast about food and drink in Madison, Wisconsin, produced by the Capital Times. Our music was composed by Patrick Christians. Thank you to Nick Pelkowski of Your Podcast Guru for recording help this week. You can find Hahri Shin at HP Shin on Instagram and on Facebook at Hahri's Kitchen, where you can also follow this podcast at Corner Table Podcast. I am your host, Cap Times food writer Lindsay Christians. If you like what we're doing here, subscribe and let us know. I would love suggestions for upcoming shows. Next week, for example, Bob Haymauer will be talking about Sicily, and coming soon, I'm chatting with Katie Wire, a young chef doing some really cool things in Spring Green, Wisconsin. My wish for you this week is anything with ssamjang, the spicy, nutty, salty Korean sauce I can't get enough of. Cheers!